Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, since I have no idea when or where you'll be when you sit down to watch this. This is Walter Blackwood, and you are watching You Are Loved. That stands for Living Out Victory Every Day. So today, we're going to be looking at 4 basic ways we try to find happiness and self-fulfillment on our own without God. It's important to recognize that for most of us, our go-to is our strength, trying to solve our problems using the tools we have at hand. And though this is quite a normal behavior, it doesn't mean it's always a healthy or effective one. As we talked about last week, if we are the problem, we cannot be the solution. The 4 most common tools we tend to use in our attempts to patch ourselves together and find happiness through our own efforts are performance, acceptance, judgment, and negative attention. The first one we're going to look at is performance. This is a term I use to cover any time I try to use my success to validate my life, finding my fulfillment in getting the W. This is how a lot of video games work, by the way. By leveling up, finding some good loot, passing that hard level, we get achievements, and this trips that part of our brain that says, hey, you are awesome, bringing us that hit of serotonin and validating the hours of practice and effort we put into the game. Why is this? Well, when we're controlled by work or performance, we usually have experienced love from our parents or significant others primarily through praise, appreciation, and affirmation for doing good works. This often results in becoming workaholics and trying to build self-esteem and value through the work. I'd like you to take a moment, pause the video, and write down a time where you feel like your self-worth was affected by your work or your performance. The second way we try to find happiness without God is through acceptance. Acceptance is changing ourselves not for our own improvement, but so that others look at us the way we want them to. Now, I'm not talking about dressing better for an interview or putting on makeup. All of these 4 behaviors can be healthy things. It's the intent behind them that makes them healthy or not. Now, I'll give you an example. I'm a big child, basically a 13-year-old with 33 years experience, as I like to say, and part of this is making bad jokes and using movie quotes in most of my conversations. This is something that helps me quite a bit at work, by the way. I work in an after-school care center, and it gives me a way to connect with the 5 to 11-year-old children that I work with. But not everyone is happy with how I act or talk, and I was counseled to dial it back, change the way I behave. Not because I'd be better or more effective at my job, but because they didn't like it. In order to be accepted by someone I respected, I complied. Sometime later, I found myself in a more stable position, but considerably less happy, like I'd somehow made myself smaller. Now, when we're controlled by what other people think about us, we model behavior which is acceptable to our family, peer group, community, church group, whatever. And getting this acceptance makes us feel more loved, but when done for the wrong reasons, can do more harm than good. Again, take a moment, pause this video, and write down how you think your self-worth has been affected by seeking the acceptance or affirmation of those around you. The third thing we're going to look at is judgment. I'm not talking about judging others, though that can be a problem in and of itself. I'm talking about how we compare ourselves to others. This was also a big one for me, especially since I jumped into the social media pool. I look at how my TikTok channel is compared to other creators and marvel at how a girl bobbing her head can have 3-point-something million likes, but my adorable little sassy shadows barely get 100. Because I have 2 absolutely adorable little black kittens that I take videos of daily and post up there. I find myself comparing and trying to remind myself that it's not about getting the likes, but sharing how cute my little girls are. And don't even get me started on views on YouTube. There are also ways that people compare themselves to others rather than accepting who God created them to be. When we compare ourselves to others, we allow our self-esteem and self-worth to be determined by them rather than by how God sees us. There are also ways that people compare themselves to others rather than accepting who God created them to be. You know what time it is. Pause the video, take some time and think about it. How has comparing yourself to others either positively or negatively affected your value and self-esteem? Finally, we get to negative attention. We have all seen it, though it's much more obvious with children. A child feels ignored, so he starts to throw a tantrum until their parent finally turns around and loses it. I remember a scene in Family Guy where Stewie is repeatedly calling out, "Mum, Mummy, Mama, Mummy, Mamu, Mama," until she just flips out and yells, "What?" To which Stewie says hi and runs off giggling. It might be significantly more subtle in adults, but it's the same thing. A husband feels unloved and starts to behave poorly, which irritates his wife and gets her to acknowledge him, though not in a good way. This starts another in what has become a series of arguments. He might not even realize what he's doing, only that he's unhappy, but at least she's paying attention to him now. When we deal with negative attention, we feel unworthy of love or acceptance. For some of us, our parents only paid attention when we got in trouble. For others, it could be rooted in abuse or neglect. This results in seeking attention by acting out in negative or rebellious ways. Last time, I promise, pause the video. This time I want you to think about any things you do that may be negative attention seeking. Write down any that come to mind and how they've been affecting your life. Today we looked at 4 basic ways we try to glean some happiness without God. We talked about using our success to boost our self-worth. We talked about changing ourselves so that others like us, maybe when we don't really like ourselves. We talked about judging ourselves, comparing who we are and how we're doing to others. And finally, we talked about negative attention seeking, lashing out when we feel unloved or unlovable. There are healthy forms of these. Being successful and being happy when we succeed is a good thing, as we realize that there are aspects of our lives that we need to change to become closer to whom we're meant to be. Comparing our actions to how others are doing can be a measure, showing us how we can improve and grow. And sometimes you need to seek attention, especially when you're feeling unloved. The difference in all of these cases is the intent and the degree. When you do something, there needs to be a healthy purpose behind it, for the betterment of you, your family, and for God's kingdom. Thank you all for watching today. Remember, you are loved. God bless.